Alrighty, welcome back to the Pop Culture Corner. This week we're on episode 23, making waves on episode 23. I am joined today by producer Jack and myself, TY. As you guys all know, thank you guys for tuning in on this beautiful Sunday. We're so happy to be here. Got lots of stuff to talk about today. Unfortunately, Big Drip is not going to be here today due to some scheduling conflictions, but that's okay. We will move on happily. Lots of stuff went on this week. Jack, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. It seemed like it was kind of a slow week, and then all of a sudden, all this news hits out of nowhere. You know, we got Chris Evans, and then we have a bunch of other stuff happening, a bunch of new series coming up. So a lot's happening despite all the craziness happening in the world of politics. Sometimes pop culture kind of flies under the radar. Yeah.
Actually, I stayed up all night. Well, not all night, but I ended up getting lost in this HBO documentary called Agents of Chaos.
Okay.
And I mean, it's riveting. I highly recommend it. It is about politics and it's about the Russia troll factory and how it influenced the 2016 election. It was a wonderfully made documentary, and I'm not like a huge politics guy, but it really was captivating, and I couldn't take my eyes off of it. At one point, I hit pause to see how much time was left, and there was like 5 minutes left, and I was like, no! I wanted to keep going. Turns out that was just part one. There was a part two. Oh, wow. I was super excited. It was so good. So if you like that kind of stuff, I highly recommend HBO Max's Agents of Chaos. Really, really good stuff. But what do we got going on this week, my friend?
Well, there's a lot of smaller stuff going on. FX, now owned by Disney, is bringing a new sci-fi series, and they're getting the writers from the Queen's Gambit, which is a popular Netflix show. I'm about 2 episodes in. It's very interesting. And the director of Chernobyl. And they're going to adapt a novel called The Sparrow, which follows a group of Jesuit priests and scientists who make contact with an alien species in the near future. This is kind of exciting because the Queen's Gambit, of course, was really popular. It was trending in the top 10 for Netflix. And then you got the director of Chernobyl. If anyone's ever seen the
series.
Chernobyl, wonderful. So you have sort of like the best of both worlds coming here together in terms of writing and directing. And it's going to be on FX. It's going to be good. FX, of course, is giving us stuff like Nip Tuck, Sons of Anarchy. So, I was kind of worried.
I love The Strain.
Oh, wonderful. The Strain.
Such a good show.
That was a show I think I finished in like 2 weeks. I just started binge watching it and I loved it. And I was a little bit worried because Disney is buying FX. Are they still going to do that edgy stuff? And the answer is yes.
Woo!
That's pretty cool. Saved by the Bell fans are going to be sad to hear that Dustin Diamond, he was famous for playing Screech, has been diagnosed with cancer. Ooh. And Mario Lopez is sending support towards him, and just kind of came out of nowhere. He's a relatively young actor. He's probably in his late 40s now, pushing 50. But Dustin Diamond is suffering with cancer, and he confirmed it on the 14th that he has been diagnosed. So we wish him well.
Yeah, that's terrible.
In other news, so I'm not a big Sex and the City fan. I've done Sex and the City events, and it has a huge following. There was news that they're doing a revival, but it turns out Kim Cattrall, who played Samantha, is not doing the revival. And a lot of fans are upset. They're saying you can't do Sex and the City without Kim Cattrall. Jennifer Coolidge is rumored to possibly replace her character. Now, Jennifer Coolidge is a great actress. She would do a good job, but the show is those 4 women, and without Kim Cattrall, it might not work. So right now it's in a situation where Sex and the City, it's still happening, but it might not be with the cast that everyone loves.
When did that show wrap up?
Oh boy, I want to say 2004, 2005, because I know the second film came out in 2008. It was on when I was in grade school in the late 90s. Oh. So the show's been on for a long time. And Sex and the City, the movie, was really popular. Sex and the City 2, I know a lot of fans did not like the second film. I think the revival would be on HBO. It would be a 10-episode series on HBO Max. I mean, HBO Max has got so much stuff now, but a revival of Sex and the City would be a big deal breaker for a lot of fans from the 90s and onwards.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a huge property for, marketing towards mature women.
Yeah.
And even some younger women. So, that's good on them.
When I did the events for Sex and the City, we did Sex and the City trivia night. There was a mix of like older women and younger women, like girls in college and stuff, who love that show, whether they watch it because of their moms or whether they watch it because of their older sisters. But it's a really big, it's got its own board game, and that show doesn't get the credit it deserves. A lot of people, when they talk about HBO becoming like, groundbreaking, they talk about The Sopranos, and The Sopranos was groundbreaking. But I think that Sex and the City doesn't get the credit it deserves in helping HBO, because The Sopranos and Sex and the City are two very different shows.
Right.
And they even had Oz. They were sort of like the trio of shows that put HBO on the map as not just a place to watch movies you don't want to rent.
Yeah. Agreed. I for some reason in my head, I was like, didn't that show just end like a couple years ago? But I mean, I just never paid attention to it. That's just me though.
Well, people still talk about it like it's like in the way they talk about Game of Thrones, like it's just one of those shows that I think, especially with female audiences, it does have a male following too, but it's just one of those shows that people talk about it. And yeah, you're right. It does feel like it ended recently, not that long ago, but it's timeless. Been a while now.
Yeah,
time flies.
Time. It's one of those timeless shows that doesn't matter if it ended a year ago or 10 years ago, people still watching it.
Exactly. So remember that David O. Russell film that has every actor in it that's supposed to be coming out? We don't even know what it's called. It added more actors. They've added Robert De Niro, Chris Rock, Anya Taylor-Joy, who of course was in The Queen's Gambit, and Michael Shannon.
Jeez.
So it was already a big cast. They had John David Washington, who recently was the star of Tenet, Christian Bale, Margot Robbie. We still don't know what the movie's going to be about, but they just added all these people. And at first I was kind of surprised to see Chris Rock's name.
Yeah.
But then recently Chris Rock was in the fourth season of Fargo, and apparently he's a phenomenal dramatic actor. So far we've only seen, comedy films from him, and we know stand up, but we've never seen him do a serious dramatic role. So it's impressed enough people, because this looks like it's going to be a big drama. I mean, he's going to be alongside De Niro and Michael Shannon. You got some Oscar winners there, Christian Bale. So
yeah. Wow, what a weird and the fact that we don't know what the project is yet, it's attached, all these huge names is really, it's striking.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be interesting because David O. Russell is keeping it under wraps. And apparently it's an original project. It's not like it's based off a book or anything like that. So I'm very curious to see what they have lined up.
Yeah, me too.
Patrick Dempsey is talking about playing Prince Charming again. So if everyone remembers in 2007, or it was around 2007, they had the Enchanted film. He's got the script for the second movie, which will be called Disenchanted. I never saw Enchanted. I know it was really popular. Did you ever see it?
No.
I never saw it either.
I see it.
There was a period in my life where I just stopped watching Disney movies, and then you get older and you start watching the older ones.
Yeah. I always see it on like, if I'm browsing through stuff, like it always pops up randomly, and I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't have time for that. but I know it's popular.
Yeah, and apparently it is a children's movie. Was that the one with I think I'm mixing up Enchanted and Ella Enchanted, which I think are two different movies.
They are, yeah.
Wrong. Yeah, so never mind. Let's go over that. Netflix has gotten the rights to the movie Heart of Stone, which is an espionage thriller that was developed by Skydance Media, and it stars Gal Gadot. So that's a big win for Netflix, because right now Gal is hot. And I'm not just talking physically, like she's on fire right now. She's, in Wonder Woman. She's going to be, there are rumors she might return to the Fast and Furious franchise. She's right now, you could argue, at peak, and Netflix has got the rights for her new movie. And I'm kind of interested to see her in a spy thriller. I'm kind of curious how she would do, because I think she would kill it. Yeah.
I don't think there's anything she can't do right now that people won't go and see.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm excited about that. The Cleopatra movie, I thought that was perfect casting because she is of Middle Eastern descent. She is Israeli, and she's basically what's the word I'm looking for? Mediterranean. She looks Mediterranean, and Cleopatra was Macedonian Greek. So the Greeker, but they have a little bit more. They're white, but they have a little bit more color in them. So I thought that's perfect casting, and she can play a queen.
Yeah, and she's gonna be in that other film. It's like the somewhat follow up to Murder on the Orient Express.
Oh,
yeah, it's the same detective, but it's called something else. I think it's like I can't remember what it's called, but the trailer looks good. It's not like it's not a crazy action movie, but it's like it's definitely a whodunit style film.
Yeah, and I like the original Murder on the Orient Express, and I like the one that Kenneth Branagh did too. It didn't get as much love because you're remaking a classic film. I mean, Gal right now I already said it, but like she's on top of the world right now. The Murder on the Orient Express sequel just seems great. I mean, I love those type of Agatha Christie, style, stories, whether it's the books or the films. And Gal Gadot, we've seen her in a period piece with Wonder Woman 1984. And if it's going to be set around that same era, sort of turn of the 19th century, I think she'd look great. And that's what's so great about her. She can fit into anything, whether it's Cleopatra, whether it's Wonder Woman, whether she's in Fast and Furious, spy thriller.
Yeah.
She and all the problems people have with Wonder Woman 1984, no one is blaming her. No one is saying, "Oh, she's what made it awful." Everyone knows that she's just an actress playing a script.
Exactly, 100%. Again, she was not the issue of that film. It was definitely the choice of story and script. I can't do anything about that as an actor. Maybe Robert Downey Jr. could, he could throw his weight around, or Sam Jackson could, but I mean, Gal is, arguably she could as well, but she's just not in that place right now, especially in her career where she's still, you said she's peaking or she's at peak.
Or she's
I still
about
think
to be
she's
peak,
about to be. So
about to be, yeah.
So I give it to her. Nothing wrong with her. I even thought she displayed a little bit more depth in this film, in this Wonder Woman film than before. So,
there was a new show called Mr. Mayor. It's an NBC Universal sitcom that Tina Fey co-created. Its ratings quadrupled after the premiere. It stars Ted Danson. I personally had no interest in watching this, but apparently the first episode was really good and the ratings quadrupled. So it's kind of interesting because really right now, no one's really talking about sitcoms. I can't think of the last time people were talking about a network sitcom. Especially one made by NBC, like that era of The Office and Friends. It's
Community,
Community, like it's all seems to have disappeared. But I don't get into sitcoms as much, and it's very rare that a sitcom gets me. But I'm kind of curious, what Mr. Mayor is like. Folks, if you've seen it, let us know. Did you see Mr. Mayor?
Yeah. Speaking of that, as always, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Smash that like button, right? Smash it, because you have to smash it. If you just tap it, it doesn't work. You have to smash it. So subscribe, let us know what you think in the comments of the topics at hand, and share the video so your family and friends can enjoy it as well. And we're also raising money for my mother's breast cancer fund. So if you could donate to that, if you have a couple extra bucks, I'd appreciate it. She'd appreciate it, and we'd appreciate it. Other than that, you can now become a supporter of the podcast. The links are all below for everything that we're talking about now. With small monthly donations, you can become a supporter and enter a exclusive group who receives special merchandise, special curated content just for you, and all that and more. We're just, we're working on it now. It's kind of like becoming a patron of the show. So, we have so much in store for you, and I know Jack and myself, we're super excited. Right now we're working on something hopefully for Kong and Godzilla. So we're excited to share all that news with you, all that and more. So What else you got? That's it?
So we already know about the Dungeons and Dragons. They're developing a series adaptation. It turns out the lead writer is going to be Derek Kolstad. He wrote the John Wick films, or he was at least the head writer for those films, which is an interesting choice. I mean, I love the John Wick films. I think it's a throwback to traditional badass action, but I'm kind of curious why they picked him for Dungeons and Dragons. Maybe he's a big fan. But he will be the lead writer for that series adaptation.
Cool. Yeah. I don't know what to think of this movie. I hope it's good, because maybe I don't like games and stuff like that. But like,
I never played that one. I'll be honest with you.
I've played
Everyone played it.
I've played a couple times, but it's not my like life. But I like when like films like that are successful. Like I loved World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
But no one else did, so it became an issue.
So are you familiar with the video game The Last of Us?
Yes.
Okay, so there have been talks about adapting it into an HBO series. They're moving forward with it. They now also have a showrunner. It's Kantemir Balagov, sorry. He directed that movie, I don't know if you saw, called Beanpole. It was set during World War II in Leningrad. A very dramatic director, and that's the type of tone you need with a story like The Last of Us. So I'm kind of curious in what direction they're going to go, because video game adaptations have not been that great most of the time, but The Last of Us is known for its very intense storyline. And I'm kind of curious, will the show be a retelling of the video game, or will it be its own story based on the same characters? But they have a very, very talented director to be the front runner of that show.
Sorry.
Yeah. And it's kind of interesting because Last of Us is in a weird place because a lot of fans are divided on that second game. So we'll see.
So Tom Holland is going to be. So have you ever played Uncharted?
I've been an Uncharted fan since the very first game.
So what do you think of that?
It's very interesting because here's the thing, because like in Uncharted, he's like a fully grown man, like he's late 20s, early 30s. The game follows him from his late 20s to about his late 30s, and he's a really big guy. A lot of people compare him to like Nathan Fillion. He even did a short where he played Nathan Drake. And it's a phenomenal series. Tom is, interestingly enough, going to be playing a younger version. And that's a cool direction to go into. So they're not going to necessarily do Nathan Drake as a grown-up, like, as a grown man. I think it's the direction of rather having it about him as a younger person, in his early 20s. He might be still playing a teenager, and he meets Victor Sullivan. Victor Sullivan's a thief who takes him under his wing and kind of raises him. And, he becomes sort of like an international thief, he's stealing artifacts and stuff like that. So I think Tom will do a good job. My only issue with Tom, and it's not even that big of an issue, it's a Hollywood issue, is that he's not that big. Nathan Drake's usually around 6'1", 6'2", and he's kind of built, but I don't, that's Hollywood. They can,
they adjust accordingly.
They can adjust it. They can make him put some heels in his boots.
Yeah, and they're using Tom Holland's star-studded, persona and his stardom to attach it to this name.
Yeah,
Uncharted, which already has a fan base. And they're gonna, so.
And what's interesting about Uncharted and The Last of Us, those, so you compare that to like Mortal Kombat or World of Warcraft. These are games that are known for their really, really good stories. In fact, Last of Us and Uncharted are created by the same people, Naughty Dog. So part of me is like,
I'm sorry, who?
Naughty Dog. That's the name of the company that makes these games. They made Uncharted. Uncharted is what made them famous, and then Last of Us made them even bigger. It's kind of interesting. They're two very different stories, but they're known for their tight writing, their great casting. Uncharted is more of a fun action adventure. Think more Tomb Raider mixed with Indiana Jones. So part of me is like, well, can you tell the story as good as the games? Because obviously in a game, you get like 10 hours to tell a story, 15 hours to tell a story. You got to condense it into a 2-hour film. We'll see how it goes.
Right. Yeah. I mean, listen, like I said, because I don't play the video games, I don't really have, or like, for instance, let's use World of Warcraft, for example. I didn't have anything to base it on.
Mm-hmm.
So I went into it completely fresh, like not expecting anything. And I came out I enjoyed it. Same thing with Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
However,
really? Okay, yeah.
Yeah. However, I go and, you look on Rotten Tomatoes, it's got like a 17%. And you're like, really? And that's purely because it didn't adapt the way that they wanted.
Well, it's not just that. The source material is so interesting. And I in an article that we wrote for Pop Culture Corner, I talked about how those first few games, it was just fresh, it was energetic, and the game series has kind of been trudging along with yearly installments. With such good source material, the Assassin's Creed film just didn't know where to go. Like, it was like, all right, let's set this. And here's the thing, by the way, the movie is set mostly in the present and flashes back to the past, right? If I recall, I saw it once. But with
It's
the video
opposite,
games,
right?
yeah, but in the video games, 99.9% of the story is in the past, and you have these interludes where you return to the present. And with the cast they had, it's a shame that I felt like it could have been way better given the source material. The story was pretty close. You have the Templars, and they use this thing called the Animus to go back in time to find artifacts. That was pretty much from the video games.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't buy. I don't know.
Hey,
I wasn't too crazy about Michael Fassbender playing a Spaniard. I was like, okay, sure, why not? A German, sure, you can play a German, but
all right, I got you. Yeah, okay, makes sense. In other news, so we had this thing go on this week, and I don't know what to make of it because I'm not sure if I'm on board yet. But the whole Chris Evans deal. So, if you're not familiar, if you live under a rock, I suppose, Chris Evans plays Captain America in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and during the events of Avengers Endgame, spoiler warning, he becomes tasked with returning the stones back to their original places in the universe, and he never comes back. Well, he does, but he stays in the past, creates an alternate timeline, and he lives out his life with Peggy, and lives up happily ever after. We don't know what happens in the past with him. Like, did he sit around and watch things happen, or was there another version of Captain America running around during that while he was living his life? Like, it's very.
So it's interesting because even the directors, the Russo brothers, and the two writers who wrote the films, I always forget their names. It's like McFeely and
wow,
Marcus.
Marcus and McFeely.
Yeah, Marcus and McFeely. Even the writers seem to have a different interpretation. I think the Russo brothers might have said that was a Cap that created an alternate timeline. And then Marcus and McFeely were like, no, it's kind of like Back to the Future. Like, he was always there. So, like, he's been in the back this whole time. He just didn't interfere with the timeline. And I'm like, okay. I like him.
So he didn't go grocery shopping at all?
Yeah, I don't know.
He didn't go to McDonald's ever? And no one ever saw him outside? Interesting.
I felt like they had to come up with that ending because they knew they had to get rid of Chris Evans. Like, they're like, all right, so, like, if Chris Evans just retires as Cap in the modern timeline, every movie we're going to be like, where's Cap? Are you telling me this is happening? Cap wouldn't do it. So basically some legit sources were reporting rumors that there are talks happening to bring him back. And then Chris Evans tweeted, news to me. Some immediately said, oh, we have another Ben Affleck, Michael Keaton situation.
Yeah.
And some suggested, like you have, Ty, that if it is true, that's of course what he would say. He doesn't want to ruin it. Or
of course.
It.
He also didn't say what he was referring to.
Yeah.
He didn't say that, hey, that report that just came out of me returning? News to me. He just said news to me. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
And earlier this year, actually late last year, because that's apparently where we're at right now. I don't even know. It's all the same to me.
Yeah.
Tatiana Maslany said the same exact thing. And I know they're two different actresses, and they're in two completely different spectrums of where the Marvel Cinematic Universe is for them.
Yeah.
But she said the same exact thing. She said, someone was like, "Oh, there was a leak. You're She-Hulk. Are you happy?" And she said, "News to me." Said the same exact thing.
And let's
and
be
then
clear.
We find out that she is, in fact, She-Hulk.
She-Hulk. Let's be clear. He could easily refute this. Hey, folks, I know there's some bad, crazy rumors going around. Just like the writer from the New York Times Hamada article came a day later after we had said that, be careful, people are misreporting this. He came out and said, "Oh, I didn't say that. I was just saying that Keaton is the Batman, the second Batman in the Flash movie. That's all I was saying." Chris Evans could clearly come out and say, "Folks, I know there are rumors going around," or his agent or someone could say, "Fake news, incorrect reporting," and that's not happening. This has been a few days now.
Yeah. Yeah,
but
so
he's something
agreed.
kind of ambiguous, which means it doesn't mean he's definitely coming back. He could be having conversations, and he may still say no.
Yeah, and okay, so I am a huge Marvel fan. However, I do think it's too soon. I mean, think about it. They haven't even brought Vision back yet. I mean, sort of, kind of.
You watched it. You did a live stream, right?
Yeah, of course.
I watched it too. So if we can maybe talk about that later.
Yeah, of course.
On the other hand, I'm also looking at his age. He's still young, and I've said the same thing about Henry Cavill. They're both in their late 30s. You don't want to wait till they're in their early 40s.
No. Yeah, no.
They could still do it. I mean, look at Hugh Jackman. He played Wolverine till he was 50 and was in incredible shape. The Rock is almost pushing 50 in a couple of years. But
I'm not
different
saying
genetics, different people. You don't want to bring them back and
And I'm not saying that it won't happen. I think they left the door open because they know it will happen. However, and someone made the point to me the other night during that stream. Actually, I believe it was where they said, "Well, 2020 for a lot of people was enough time for everything, right?"
Yeah.
It was such a bad year that you could almost say it's like 5 years at this point. However, it's not. And I think I wouldn't bring him back to the MCU proper, the timeline right now, at least for another year and a half.
That's probably when we would see him if he does sign something.
Give it a couple years, right? Have a couple movies without him. Get to know the world without a Captain America or without Steve Rogers, I should say. And then
the Avengers.
Yeah, and then bring him back in a limited capacity with the right story. And then someone was like, "Well, what about this?" Disney Plus is trying to compete with HBO Max. HBO Max has Zack Snyder's Justice League coming out. So they want, as of right now, The Mandalorian having Luke Skywalker in it, right? That's their big pull. Yeah. What about a show with Cap returning the stones? How do you feel about that? That is separate, and that isn't during the timeline we're expecting to go through for Phase 4. So honestly, I wouldn't be too upset about that.
My feeling was maybe Steve discovers. See, this doesn't work either. Maybe look, time travel now exists in the MCU. Maybe someone goes back and screws up the final timeline, the one at the end of Endgame, and they need Steve Rogers for whatever reason. I mean, there are a million ways. Even in the comics, they always find a way to bring Cap back or make him young again. So, how would you feel if he kind of played the new director of the not a Shield, but if he was brought back as the leader of the Avengers, not in a fighting capacity, but in a Samuel L. Jackson capacity? Like, yeah, obviously if things get crazy, he will get involved, but he will be the person to kind of bring them together and to say, it's your team now. Like he's the CEO more or less, not necessarily the leader in terms of like he's going out.
He did his time. He did his field work, and now he is the head of the CIA, right?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
I'm not opposed to that either.
Yeah. And that way you can have him as a limited capacity. He can be the leader, kind of like the president, he's there, but you guys go and you do the whatever,
Yeah, he's the one who tasks you with the next job, right?
Yeah.
He's the man behind the chair at this point because he did his time. He saved the world 4 times. Not more than that because he's been around since the 40s. So if anyone earned the right to retire, it's him, or to come back as like more like a head of. And I would say I don't think he would ever want to be the head of Shield, but the head of the Avengers, yes.
Yeah. And as for the whole thing with the Snyder Cut, I don't think Marvel's worried, because right now, they have a bunch of new shows coming out. They have a lot of stuff coming out, and Star Wars is kind of feels like it's back, with the end of Mandalorian season 2. I think they're just going to do their own thing. I don't think they're worried. Like, even if the Snyder Cut is successful, which I think it already is, just the fact that it exists. I don't think they're too worried about that. And I think they were worried back in 2015, 2014 when BVS was announced, and all of a sudden Serpent Society became Civil War. A lot of people feel that might have been in reaction, like, oh crap, they got Batman versus Superman. What are we going to do? Captain America 3's got to be bigger. Some people say, no, that was always the plan. But I don't think they're too worried about the Snyder Cut. And not worried in the sense that they don't see it as a threat. They know right now, look, the DC people, they have their fans. The Marvel people have their fans. And there are people like us who are fans of both. Yeah. Or there are people like Justice who doesn't like Snyder's DCU.
Yeah. Well, where is he? So, but yeah, so you had just mentioned WandaVision. Yeah. I'll just stick with the Marvel stuff. What did you think about the first couple episodes?
I enjoyed them, but I'm getting to feel this might have been a show they should have released all at once. Because look, we already know from the first trailer that this is either going on in Wanda's head or it's a simulation of some sort. We've talked about this. So now I felt like I was just waiting for the characters to wake up, like the audience, like, when's the story going to start? And I didn't mind the first 2 episodes. I really enjoyed it. There was a lot of throwbacks to, I watched a lot of Nick at Night growing up. I remember a time when there was only one Nickelodeon channel, and at night they did not play cartoons. They played the Dick Van Dyke Show. They played I Love Lucy, I Dream of Jeannie, Bewitched, and that was the only thing you could watch. If you're a kid, it's summer. You can stay up all night, and Nickelodeon stopped showing cartoons. So I used to watch that stuff. I enjoyed it. I had fun with it, but I feel like, I don't know where the show's going, but maybe this could have been one that they just released at once. Whereas like The Mandalorian, you're kind of like, okay, this episode was about this. This episode was about this. This feels more like one big story.
Yes.
And I don't think we've gotten to the thesis. In college, you have to have your thesis that tells you what the essay is going to be about. I don't feel like we've gotten to the thesis of this show. There's a lot of Easter eggs for comic book fans. I know you've read The House of M. I have not. But that's not enough for me to like. I'm definitely going to go see it, but I thought maybe it could have been a better opening. Maybe
I can't agree more. I wouldn't have started with WandaVision. I would have started with Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Wasn't that the plan until COVID?
Yeah, I believe. WandaVision. If you're gonna test you, and I said this last night, if you're gonna test, like if you're gonna do something experimental, which WandaVision is, right? You're experimenting with a new style. Don't do that first, right? Yeah. The Disney Plus is your new, that's your new baby, Give us some of what we're used to get us on board with it, right? Yeah. Give us what we're used to. Give us what we know you can do well. Falcon and Winter Soldier, that's it, right? It's got action. It's got story. It's got humor. It's got everything we already know and we're used to with Marvel movies, but we're going to get used to seeing it in episodic form over long form storytelling, right? Yeah. Ease us into it. Don't just throw us WandaVision and then the first 2 episodes where you're right, it's like we didn't get the thesis yet. We don't really know what's going on.
Yeah. And we already know that it's just not real. We know it's a simulation of some kind.
There's no way it's real,
Yeah. So like we're just kind of waiting for them to wake up. Like, okay, so it's like sort of like if you watch The Sixth Sense, spoiler alert, and Bruce Willis is dead at the beginning.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, when is he going to find out that he's dead? Like it just
right. No, exactly. I do not, and I've been skeptical of WandaVision for this whole time. I've been saying it. You can go back. I've been skeptical about this for a while now. I don't like sitcoms like that. Me personally, I think it's creative. I think you're pushing boundaries, and I think it's a cool way to tell a story about 2 not typical characters, right? However, if this goes on for 6 episodes,
Yeah.
I'm going to lose interest. I tell you that right now.
Yeah.
I am. I'm going to lose. I don't want to wait till the last 3 episodes of the show.
I think
to
they
be
realized
entertained.
that. That's why they put 2 out. Like, why put 2 episodes out and not just 1? They did not have confidence in that first episode. Like, if that had just been the first episode, I would have been. And the credits are long because it was like 29 minutes. And the credits started like 23.
That's how Mandalorian was too, and it frustrated me.
Yeah, but at least Mandalorian, like, you know the story. The first episode, he's find the kid. Next episode, they got to repair the ship.
And there was no moment like that.
Yeah,
there was no Baby Yoda moment because at the time we didn't know his name. Everyone just called him Baby Yoda, the child, right? Yeah. There was no, in that first WandaVision episode, and even in the second episode, there was no moment where you were like, got it, that's where we're going, right? There was no epiphany.
And I think maybe the moment is supposed to be when you hear that person saying, Wanda, who's doing this to you? Wanda, can you hear me? And I'm like, okay, so she's in a simulation or she's in some kind of psychic spell. I don't know. But I already knew that. We already knew that before when we saw the first trailer.
Yeah. So I gave it a 7.3.
Yeah. That's
out
I
of
would
10.
give it a 7 out of 10. It's not saying it was, I enjoyed it. And it was kind of nice to see Vision. Like we forget that he's dead. He didn't come back after the snap. He was gone.
Yeah.
And there's also the possibility that the Vision we are seeing is not Vision. It might be just her projection of Vision. Or I made the theory.
It's okay. God, sorry.
I had the theory that part of Vision was still out there because Shuri was working on Vision, so she might have been able to take part of him out, even though she wasn't able to fulfill the process of removing the Mind Stone. And you see the Mind Stone, like there's a lot of Easter eggs in this, but that wasn't enough to hold my attention. I'm like, oh yes,
yeah,
yeah. Agnes is Annie Harkness or whatever her name is. Agnes Harkness. Yeah.
No, Agatha. Sorry,
Agatha Harkness, but her name is
Agnes.
Yeah.
But so what I think happens is that because I mean the Vision is made from Tony Stark, right? Tony Stark, Bruce Banner, some AI.
Jarvis.
It's also made of vibranium, right? If I'm not wrong about that.
It's all vibranium.
That is very even dead. That is worth getting. Right? That all of him is dead or alive. Just to reverse engineer it. If you're someone, so I can guarantee that someone Sword probably pulled his body out of the woods, or someone pulled his body out of the woods after Thanos ripped the Mind Stone out. And Wanda either went to get his body and was captured by the same people who have Vision's body and then put in a simulation where she wouldn't go knocking on doors, right? She wouldn't go scratching at the surface to figure it out. And I think that by her seeing the beekeeper come up, by her, there's a couple times where she snaps into like her real hero mode, but then immediately goes back and she wants to just be with Vision again, right? She just wants to be in the simulation. She took the blue pill, or is it the red pill? Which one's the Matrix one?
Yeah, the Matrix. So if you take the red pill, you find reality.
Okay, so she took the blue pill.
You took the blue pill. You're right.
Right now, she's taking the blue pill. Right, she doesn't want to leave this reality.
Yeah.
Even though she could, her powers are strong enough, and I think Agatha has something to do with it because there's no way. I mean, she feels very inserted into this world. Right. Yeah. She's not like everybody else. She's drinking and making fun of the blonde lady where everyone else is trying to impress her. Right.
Yeah.
Nothing with Agnes feels right. Like, even if I didn't know who she was, I would still, my mind would be like, her.
Yeah.
She's probably the one doing it. So, I mean, I can see where this is going, or I can try to, but.
I have a feeling that the show is going to stay with the, I thought they're going to do the sitcom thing. At some point, reality will kick in, and then the show will go into, the greater MC, like, I have a feeling the story might just stay here until like the last 5 minutes of episode 9. Are you getting that vibe?
So what I've heard is 6 episodes of sitcom.
Okay.
3 episodes of back to reality.
Yeah.
Like them trying to escape wherever they are, or, whatever. There were several Easter eggs. There were a lot of fan service Easter eggs. However, I don't, like you said, I don't think it was enough to hold people's attention.
No. I mean, I'm definitely going to watch it next week, but am I excited? Like, oh man, I can't wait to see what happens next.
No,
Not really.
No.
I'll watch it Friday. In fact, I'll probably watch it on time for the show more so than my own self. Like if I wasn't doing the podcast, I would just wait till it's like episode 9 and then just binge watch it in one day.
Yeah.
But we were talking about this with Garza on Thursday night, that this probably was not supposed to be the beginning of Phase 4. It was supposed to be Black Widow, which again I want to see, but I wasn't like oh my god, the Black Widow movie.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about that either.
Yeah, if she's dead, and I have a feeling that they greenlit the Black Widow movie like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when they're like
out of a PC move. Yeah.
And well, she should have gotten a movie, but they didn't want to. Now they killed her, and they're like, it's set in the past. And she has a family now, even though she talks about exclusively the Avengers being her family. She had no family. But that's fine. That's fine. And I do want to see it. But maybe there was something in that movie that was going to help set up Phase 4 of the MCU. And it was clearly not meant to be WandaVision.
No.
This show was supposed to be something kind of like ancillary to like the larger MCU, because I feel like the Winter Soldier and Falcon and the Winter Soldier looks like to be a mainstream story that is set in the world of the MCU. There's politics, there's war, there's stuff going on.
That's it right there. Everything in one, right?
Yeah. Start
it with this. And it's not like it's coming out a year from now, so it's like, oh, it's not possible to do that. Yeah. It's coming out next month. January? It's coming out in a couple months. It's already done.
Yeah.
You could have given us that first. And then once you hooked people with that, then feed them WandaVision, because you know that, all right, they're in it for the long run now. Now we give them something that is a little bit experimental. Maybe you like it, maybe you won't, but that's okay, because we have stuff like I just showed you too.
Yeah. Is WandaVision a one-time thing, or is it supposed to be like
I don't know.
Something?
I don't know. If I had to guess, at this rate, it might be a one and done.
And Winter Soldier might be. I don't know what happened there. But my point was, if you look at Phase 2 started with Iron Man 3. And whatever issues you have with Iron Man 3, that was a big story that kicked off Phase 2. Phase 3 starts with Civil War. Mm-hmm. And now Phase 4 is going to start with WandaVision. It's just, and we know that Disney Plus can do big budget shows. They just did The Mandalorian. They're doing the Book of Boba Fett. So,
did you know that they actually shot those episodes in front of a live audience?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that's actually kind of cool.
Yeah, so 100% real live audience there, and everything like that.
That's how they used to do those older sitcoms, the 50s and 60s. They used to actually film in front of a live audience, and interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of cool. Or it might have just been the first episode.
Okay.
One of them, if not both of them, were shot in front of a live audience, straight up sitcom style. And I mean, it was like being on stage again,
Mm-hmm.
So that was cool.
I'm trying to remember what the plot was, because I watched it, and I know the second one, Vision has gum stuck in his system, and they have
the
to do
first
a
one.
magic show.
The first one was the dinner with Mr. Hart.
That's right, with the boss. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was interesting, it was filmed like a typical sitcom until the boss started choking, and then it came into these close-ups. I was like, okay, so now the story's starting. No, it's not. But it was like, okay.
That was one of the times I was referring to where Wanda snaps into it, and she's like, "Vision, save him!"
Yeah.
And her hero mode kicks in.
Yeah.
But overall, WandaVision, we'll see where it goes, and we'll stay on it. We'll update you per week, every week. Let you know what we thought. If you guys can let us know what you think, that would be wonderful. Let's all have this experience together. Nope. Let's all have this experience together. But moving on let's talk some movies. So HBO made an announcement. Well, not an announcement because we already knew all this was happening, but HBO did a little promo video today or yesterday night. I don't know when it came out, and it showcased a few, if not all, of the movies that are coming out on HBO Max at the same time that they go to theaters. Got a little bit of footage from Godzilla vs. Kong, Mortal Kombat, you name it for HBO, and it was all there. So I thought that was really cool. That 1 second from Godzilla vs. Kong looked amazing. I'm super excited about this movie, which, by the way, is now coming out March 26, 2021.
So 2 things about that release date. I think that has to coincide with the fact that Morbius got pushed
100%
to the fall. And then I'm also kind of curious, mid-March is what we were expecting Snyder Cut to come out. And I'm wondering if is Snyder Cut possibly coming earlier than we thought, maybe early March, or do they want these 2 things head to head? I mean, look, it's good for HBO Max, but I thought it'd be good for, the Snyder Cut to get a couple of weeks in the limelight,
Yeah, I don't know. All I know is Godzilla vs. Kong is a 2.5-hour movie, whereas the Snyder Cut is a 4-week long process.
Yeah.
So I don't think a movie coming out at the same time as this show would really derail anything. If anything, it would keep people focused on HBO Max. So
true.
It would keep viewer numbers locked on to HBO Max, right? Because what am I going to do? I'm going to sit there, I'm going to watch the Snyder Cut. Right after I'm done, I'm going to switch right over to Godzilla vs. Kong and do another 2.5 hours on HBO Max. I think it could work out really well for them.
And we touched on this on Thursday, and I know we always talk about the Snyder Cut, but I hope they do give it like a primetime slot, whether it's Saturday night or a Friday. Don't just put it out at like Mandalorian, like midnight on Disney Plus. No, give it like a proper time slot, 8 o'clock, make it primetime. It'd be easier for us to do the show. Could you imagine if they release it at midnight? We got to do the post show at 1 a.m.
Yeah.
But I hope
it would have to be done like that.
Yeah.
It would have to be done though.
Yeah, because everyone else is going to be doing it. We want to,
Yeah. We also want to compete.
People who jumped on the bandwagon. We were the bandwagon.
Yeah. Charlie Cox. Oh, Charlie Cox wrapped filming on Spider-Man 3. And this is coming from comicbook.com. This is exclusive to comicbook.com. No one else reported it. So take it with a grain of salt, guys. Not 100%. However, if they are telling the truth, or if they are thinking they're telling the truth, and it is true, Charlie Cox had wrapped up filming on Spider-Man 3. We do not know if he's going to be playing the Netflix Matt Murdock or something different entirely.
Yeah.
I would have to say it's because I
think they're going to have to.
Kevin Feige, and I was going to talk to you guys about this during TV, but Kevin Feige said that the Netflix characters are on the board.
Yeah. So let's clarify something. There are a lot of people who have been saying, I have noticed this. There is an audience for the Netflix show, and they're not necessarily, the movie fans aren't watching the Netflix shows. You have a lot of families who watch the movies. The Netflix shows, Drip kept saying on Thursday night, DC does dark. That's not Marvel. And I was like, Marvel has dark stuff. And Daredevil is one of them.
True.
Daredevil is one of the characters. Let's be clear. When the Netflix shows were made, they were supposed to be part of the MCU. I don't know if you've seen the Daredevil show.
There's so many tie-ins.
Yeah.
The Battle of New York on the back of a police desk with the journalist.
Yeah.
The black journalist from the beginning of the show.
Yeah. And not only that,
I don't care what they say. I don't care what they say. It's connected.
Yeah. The whole reason the Kingpin is able to buy and by the way, I think Daredevil, if it is MCU, is the best written thing in the MCU because it doesn't have graphic sex or anything like that. It just has a little bit of violence, and the language is still pretty PG-13 in Daredevil. You don't have Daredevil cursing or using like that, bad language. But when Vincent D'Onofrio is a wonderful villain, and the whole reason he is making his move at the first season of Daredevil is because property rates are low because of what happened in the Avengers.
Yeah.
Like all this property in Manhattan is cheap as hell. He's buying it up. He's making his moves to take over.
Yeah, I don't care what. I don't even care what Kevin Feige said. In my mind, that's connected. Mm-hmm. Right? Just because they haven't met the Avengers doesn't mean anything.
And they sell. They're like, hey, they mentioned the Hulk, like in Luke Cage. They're selling like bootleg DNA footage of the Hulk in Sokovia, and Sokovia is in. I think it was Iron Fist. They have a flashback to Sokovia, not the events of Age of Ultron, but like there's a soldier who's in Sokovia. Yeah. The only thing that might disconnect it is that in Iron Man 3, we know that there was a president and Miguel Ferrer was the vice president. But in Luke Cage, they talk about Obama a lot because it's very topical to the show, about black people becoming stronger, and they talk about Obama. That's the only thing that slightly disconnects it.
Yeah.
But there wasn't President Obama in a Spider-Man comic book, so like whatever.
If you're reading, if you're trying to do that much work and detail on it, come on, And
I always said the best way to reintroduce these characters is use the snap. You can kind of slightly reboot the characters because all the Punisher, I don't want to reboot him. That guy is perfect.
John Bernthal
is perfect. Yeah. So this is what you do. You say you have these characters come back as a result of the snap. So where has Daredevil been this whole time? Where's Luke Cage been? Where's Jessica Jones? Where was Iron Fist? Oh, they got disappeared because of the snap. They've been gone
for 5 years.
Reintroduce these characters in a post-snap world.
Yeah. All of their stories could start as they came back.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, the show could do like a pre-credit show, like a pre-title screen.
Yeah, and everyone disappears 5 years later, and 6 years later.
Do it. I mean, that's your out right there. That's your perfect.
What would be perfect to bring Daredevil back? He was snapped. He came back. And when he comes back, the Kingpin is not only out of jail, the Kingpin is now the Kingpin like he's in the comics. He has a big steel tower. It's like, dude, I was kind of like they did that in Superman Returns with Lex Luthor. Like Superman disappears and he comes back and Lex Luthor is powerful as he's ever been. Do something like that. And then you could reintroduce the Kingpin. Now he's
a different Kingpin, right? He's more advanced in his criminal ways. Daredevil's readjusting. Daredevil's adjusting to this new Thanos like tortured world. I think it'd be a good idea.
I think it'd be a great idea. And by the way, Daredevil and Spider-Man interact a lot because they're mostly in the Manhattan area. Hell's Kitchen is in smack dab in Manhattan, in the middle of Manhattan. And in the comics, Hell's Kitchen is much bigger. If you actually go to Hell's Kitchen, it's actually a very small part.
Yeah,
it's
I know.
But in the comics, it's like blocks and blocks. Fine, whatever. I don't care. They always run into each other, and they both have the same kind of moral code. They don't kill.
Yeah.
They both are pretty straightforward, and they work together a lot. And Matt Murdock, everyone's been saying who should be the new mentor for Spider-Man.
There you go.
It should be Matt Murdock.
Yeah.
Because they both are very similar characters in terms of their values.
Yeah.
And
and they're just a guy trying to do the right thing.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not Thor. They're not gods. They're just a guy trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Protect their keep their neighborhood safe.
Exactly.
And
it's kind of funny, juxtaposed that with the Justice League. You have all these big gods and characters who do these grand things, and then Batman, he's just trying to keep Gotham safe.
Yeah.
If you think about it, it's kind of funny. Like he's more like Daredevil. He's about, I got to keep this one city out of a city all over the globe safe, and that's where his stories are. And arguably, his stories are the most interesting. Daredevil trying to protect Hell's Kitchen. Some of the best writing, whether it's Jeff Loeb or Brian Michael Bendis, just really, and the writers of the show are phenomenal. And I hope that Kevin kind of brings them in, because I know Kevin liked the Daredevil show, even though they weren't necessarily affiliated. That was Marvel Studios, that was Marvel Television, that was Netflix. He did like Charlie Cox's Daredevil. And my only fear is that they toned down the intensity of it to make it more family friendly. And I'm not talking about blood or violence or cursing or nudity. I don't care about that. But like, if they do a Daredevil show, it has to have the tone of, let's say, The Dark Knight, like, gritty, urban chaos, people getting killed. I hope they don't turn it into a superhero movie, if you know what I mean.
There's that opening scene where he's at the docks.
Yeah.
And he's like, you don't see him yet, but he's back and forth on the top. You don't know where he is. Like, that gave me that Dark Knight feel. Like, where they couldn't see him, and he was back and forth. Oh, my God. From the moment Daredevil started to the moment it ended, I was all in. Yeah. All in on everything about it.
And in that scene, he's saving women who are about to be used as sex slaves. I don't want that type of storytelling to go away. I don't want these cartoonish villains like, hey, you jerk, I'm going to knock your teeth out. How they kind of had villains. These dudes are about to sell women into sex.
Yeah. Like Wonder Woman 84 villains?
Yeah.
Like the robbers in 84.
Yeah.
My God.
Exactly, yeah. And look, even like, I love Spider-Man. I liked Far From Home. But, with the villains, they kind of have to tone them down, make them a little bit cartoonish.
Yeah, of course.
They can't make them feel scary. The villains, even aside from Kingpin, they're killing people. They're killing cops. They're killing whatever. I'm not saying you have to show that. But there's, one of the best scenes in The Dark Knight is right before the big truck sequence chase. You see the truck honking, and the cop comes up. He's like, "Hey, pal, you wait," and the Joker just comes down and blows his head off. You actually never see it. Yeah. But you get it. He just went up there and shot the dude right in the head. Yeah. You could do intense PG-13 violence. Joker cutting the guy's mouth open. You actually never see it.
Yeah, no. They flash away right in time. I
hope Disney doesn't back away.
What the Dark Knight did beautifully was they used music the right way. Because during that scene where he's about to cut the guy in the mouth, all of a sudden it gets, it's like a really intense moment.
And it cuts away to a guy going like this, like just a reaction shot, like, oh.
Yeah. So very well done. Very well done. That's what I always gave them credit for.
Yeah. I think, look, with the more serious characters, we know Mahershala Ali is going to be Blade. I like Wesley Snipes, but that's good casting. I know Wesley's a bit of a diva. When it comes to characters like Blade, Punisher, Daredevil, do something, a separate thing within the MCU. Those comics are sometimes called the Marvel Knights. Make like an R-rated brand where you can do the more intense storytelling. You don't have to like go full on, Game of Thrones with the content, but you can make it edgy. If you're going to be killing vampires, it has to be badass. It can't be toned down,
Yeah.
It can't be the Twilight vampires. It has to be vampires.
Yeah.
Bite people's necks and kill, and Blade's got to kill them.
Yep, I agree. So moving on. I have a couple things. Just let me get through them. They're not too huge. So there's a new Scream movie, and it's releasing 1/14/2022. So about a year from now, give or take a couple of days. And then Johnny Depp, possibly, he's at one time, he was the most marketable person in Hollywood, but due to some recent personal issues, no one, we don't know if he's going to have a future in film. However, Tim Burton may give him his chance with the Beetlejuice sequel. We don't know yet. This is not confirmed. This is just speculation. However, it does look like Tim Burton wouldn't mind using Johnny Depp for the sequel.
I've also heard rumors that Robert Downey Jr. wants Johnny Depp in the third Sherlock Holmes movie that they're working on.
Yeah, listen, I love the Sherlock Holmes movies with Robert Downey Jr., so...
They're fun. And look, this is not the first time this has happened to Johnny Depp. He did have a kind of dip in his career prior to Pirates of the Caribbean. And prior to this incident with Amber Heard and all this nonsense, he had been kind of falling back a little bit. Like, people were not happy to see him turn up on Fantastic Beasts when he replaced Colin Farrell. He had been kind of like, kind of teetering. He lost the edge. They're doing Pirates of the Caribbean without him, which is like doing the Justice League without Superman. Yep. It's like, dude, that you can't do it without him, So I think they realized that maybe his edge has been lost. And look, he's had a good run for about 17 years going back to Pirates of the Caribbean. But I think he'll bounce back. I think he'll recover. I think he is at his best when he plays more dramatic. I know everyone knows his colorful characters, but like I felt like he was in every Tim Burton movie playing the same character. I liked it when he played Frank White. Did you see that? Or when he played Whitey Bulger. Did you see that movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I think he does more stuff like that.
I'd be
way worse people in Hollywood who have done worse things, and his stuff is not even that bad. I mean,
I agree.
Relatively speaking to other people out there.
I actually agree with you. So I don't think what Johnny did warranted him being outed from. And there's no evidence. There's no clear indicator that any of this is, it's all he said, she said kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't think he should be removed from movies in general.
Yeah. I mean, it's silly. Does he have the box office stardom that he had 10 years ago? No. But he's still an incredibly capable actor.
Yeah, very much.
And he should be blacklisted. I think that's a little bit ridiculous.
Right. But so that's it for talking movies, guys. Let's move on to TY's TV corner. TY's TV time. Sorry. Listen. So Ethan Hawke. Again, this is from comicbook.com.
Yeah.
Ethan Hawke, rumored to be playing the villain in Moon Knight. However, we don't know which villain that will be. But what do you think about Ethan Hawke playing villain?
I think he has a certain intensity about him. Like, he always plays kind of vulnerable sometimes. I'm trying to think if there's any movie where he played a bad guy that I can think of. But have you ever seen the movie Sinister?
Yes. Please, I don't want to talk about it.
He's a good guy in that, but he plays sort of like, he does some shady things to his family.
I know. Listen, that movie haunts me. I would rather not talk about it.
I would like to. I think he has the acting chops to play a villain.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if he's ever played a villain, but I would love to see that. I'll be honest with you, I'm not too familiar with Moon Knight. I know a lot of people say he's similar to comparing to Batman in terms of that dark stuff. I haven't read Moon Knight too much.
He is. I mean, he has schizophrenia. Like, bro, the dude's he's out there. He's out there. He gets his powers from like an Egyptian god. I mean, it's pretty crazy. And I'm really excited to see it on the small screen, especially with the Disney Plus atmosphere, where it's long form. They can actually dive into his origin, but also have enough time to get past it. So I think Moon Knight was a no-brainer. It was just they needed a platform to do it on. Yeah. I bet it would have been Netflix had Disney Plus not come around.
Yeah.
But this is great. This is great news. I like Ethan Hawke. I was going to say Sinister, but Sinister, I have a weird relationship with that movie because it scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
And I just don't like talking about it because it scares me.
It's a very dark ending. No, I don't want to get into spoilers, but it's a
very dark ending. And it has lawnmowers, and it's really freaky. And yeah, Ragu, or whatever his name was, Prego, I don't know. But yeah, really freaky movie. I do recommend it if you like that shit. If you like that stuff, though.
Yeah.
It's really intense, though. It's really and Ethan Hawke does a great job.
Yeah, I mean, I love good horror movies, and that one's a really good one. Like that, and that's one of the few that I rewatched and still scared the crap out of me. Like years later, I was like, it's on Netflix. Let me watch it. I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. I had to sleep like with the light on for a couple of days. So and I don't.
The first time I saw Insidious, I don't know.
I don't get scared, man. I really don't. I pride myself. I watch Supernatural at like 4 a.m, 3 a.m. You know, there's not a bunch of scary stuff in Supernatural, but I watch like Halloween at like midnight on a Friday 13th. You know, it doesn't faze me.
Supernatural stuff can be free, even if you don't believe in that stuff. It can bother you. You know, I had the Insidious. Remember the very first Insidious? I had never seen it. It was on Netflix, and my sister and I watched it, and it just scared the crap out of us. We just weren't ready for it. We were just like, oh, here looks like an interesting movie. Oh, James Wan, he made Saw. And it just, for nights, like, I would just like kind of look in the corner because there's a scene where like, look in the corner and there's something standing there. And I'm like, I'm looking at my own corner. I'm like, all right, I'm turning the TV on.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, great stuff.
So Ethan Hawke will nail it. And Disney has never let us down with casting.
Never.
They let us down with villains though. But usually in TV shows, the villains tend to be better.
Yeah. You shared this courtesy of IGN, but the synopsis for Amazon's Lord of the Rings series.
Yeah. It's going to be set like well in the past. Yeah, they dropped this like I mean, it's like Lord of the Rings. It's like a whole, like, term paper. I'm like, geez.
Yeah, I'm going to read it here.
Yeah.
So Amazon Studios' forthcoming series brings to the screens for the very first time the heroic legends of the fabled Second Age of Middle-earth's history. This epic drama is set thousands of years before the events of J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. It will take viewers back to an era in which great powers were forged, kingdoms rose to glory, and fell to ruin. Unlikely heroes were tested, hope hung by the finest of threads, and the greatest villain that ever flowed from Tolkien's pen threatened to cover all the world in darkness. Beginning in a time of relative peace, the series follows an ensemble cast of characters, both familiar and new, as they confront the long-feared reemergence of evil to Middle-earth. From the darkest depths of the Misty Mountains to the majestic forests of the elf capital Lindon, to the breathtaking island kingdom of Numenor. I never could pronounce this one. Numenor. To the furthest reaches of the map, these kingdoms and characters will carve out legacies that live long after they are gone. This just a synopsis sounds amazing.
It sounds amazing. I have one request. I hope they don't try to make it Game of Thrones and make it like a hard R type of show. I've heard rumors, people are saying that, hey, actually might have some nudity and stuff. I'm like, please don't. Like, keep it family friendly. Lord of the Rings holds such a special place in so many fans' hearts. Keep the tone what it's supposed to be in what J.R. Tolkien did, not what George R. Martin does, So I hope they don't try to like, let's make it R-rated and gritty. Let's Christopher Nolan this, and
Do you think George R.R. Martin took that from J.R.R.?
Oh, yeah, he did. He did. The J.R.R. Tolkien. Yeah, he did. He's a huge fan of Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
Okay, because I was going to say, it's really coincidental.
Right. He did that on purpose. Yeah.
Okay. But I'm okay with a little bit of a more mature theme. However, don't go over the top with it.
Yeah. I don't mind a little bit of violence and stuff,
They whatever they do in this show, they need to ask the Tolkien estate, though.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Whatever happens is all needs to be approved. So
don't turn it into The Boys. Like, you don't have to push the content just because you can.
Yeah.
Keep it family friendly-ish. Keep it PG-13 or TV-14.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm excited about that. We don't have a release date or anything really close to anything, but we do have a cast of awesome names.
Oh, who are they?
Look it up. I don't have them in front of me, but
okay, all right.
There's a lot, but I've said it before. WandaVision is actually now certified fresh at 94% with 97 reviews. Take that the way. Hey, listen. I don't want to stop in too much on this. Take that with what you want. However, when the Snyder Cut comes out and it's actually good, and I swear to God, if it gets less than 94%, I'm kicking the doors down.
Yeah.
So, stay tuned. Like I said earlier, Kevin Feige said that Netflix characters are on the board. They are not gone, and they're trying to figure out what to do with them. So I do think that if they are on the board, then Marvel could potentially actually be using Charlie Cox's Daredevil in Spider-Man. So
I think Daredevil is the number one character, because remember, Daredevil of the Netflix shows, Daredevil and Punisher are A characters. All right, these are characters whose comics outsell Captain America and Iron Man.
Yeah.
But they put them on the small screen. Daredevil, you have to do. I think they have to figure out what to do with the Punisher. I would rather them not do the Punisher than tone him down.
Yeah.
Again, that comes up with the whole R rating thing. It seems like now they've confirmed that Deadpool 3 will be R rated. Why was this not confirmed a year ago, 2 years ago, when this was happening? I think there's a hesitancy from Disney. You know.
I agree.
And I don't think they can have Luke Cage. I think he's moved on. That actor, I forgot his name. He's on that show Evil on CBS.
Yeah.
He moved on.
Yeah, you can't stick around and wait.
Yeah.
So
Terry
that's okay.
Crews would be a great Luke Cage. I like Terry Crews a lot.
Yeah.
He's a wonderful human being. He's got the height. He's got the physicality. He's got the personality. He's a charm. Yeah, it would suck if you have to recast that role, but,
Yeah. What else was I saying?
Yeah.
I kind of forgot.
Oh.
Oh, no. So this is the last thing I have for today. Mm-hmm. But did you listen to the clip from Ray Fisher?
Yeah, that was interesting. I think that's supposed to be the investigator.
It is.
From Warner Media. And now some people are like, well, he cut it off here and we only heard this much. Because remember we were talking to Garza, I'm like, do you think he might actually reveal, I was saying like, will he reveal what was said by Walter Amada? But it's interesting. Ray covered his tracks. He probably recorded every conversation.
That's what I want to know. Eventually, I would like to hear a lot of it.
Yeah.
I know that we won't get that for some time.
There could be legal issues even with him releasing that much.
Yeah, but I do think that he did release a portion of it for the reason, for a good reason, and I do think that he cut it off at a certain point for obvious reasons. I don't think the tone of that conversation was going to change. She was like, listen, you're respectful. You've been a man of your word.
Yeah.
We told Warner Brothers about all this. I don't think that it was ever going to get to a place where she was like, but, you know what I mean? So who cares where he cut it off?
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with it. She said what she said, and she was very mindful of what she said. Like, her words were deliberate, and him putting this out was deliberate. It made sense, right? So it looks like they were on the same page.
Yeah, at least that's how it seems like.
Yeah, it's Warner Brothers that's not.
She's confirming his allegations. We don't know what the specific things were said, but it seems to me that she's kind of confirming that, no, you're right, you provided us the witnesses. Because there was an article that came out a couple of months ago where Warner Brothers was like, he did not speak with the investigator, he did not provide witnesses, he did not do this, he did not do that. And in this conversation, we're seeing that is not true because Ray said this is all false.
Yes. So I think it's interesting. I'm excited to see. I'm not excited. And listen, this is a reason I'm closing with this, is because, it's, I don't know how to say this without getting in trouble. It's becoming saturated. It's every day now, something new. We don't know if, I have my faith in Ray Fisher telling the truth.
Yeah.
I think that he should not have been written out of Flashpoint. I'm on Ray Fisher's side. However, there's only so much you can say from our perspective. We don't really know what's going on with the actual investigation. We don't know everything yet. So it's hard to keep reporting on it, not knowing. And I don't like to say things that I can't confirm.
Yeah.
So
I said this on Thursday when we were talking to Garza. He's written out of Flash. It seems like they're going to move forward even if there is a reconciliation. They got to do the pre-production and everything. They can't change schedules. Fine. Whatever. Okay. If Snyder Cut comes out and he's the heart of the story, and look, I liked whatever little I saw him in the Justice League. If he's the heart of the story and he becomes very popular and Zack Snyder is greenlit to do another DCEU film, he could easily say, I want Ray Fisher back as Cyborg. And then Zack could do that.
Yeah.
And sort of bridge that. I think that door is open. There's a reason we haven't heard anything about a sequel to Justice League yet.
Yeah.
Because I think they're waiting to see how does it go.
Yeah.
Does it get a 94% on its first episode, or does a repeat of March 2016?
If it gets a 94% on its first episode, I'll record myself running down the street in just my underwear, yelling and screaming. All right? That's a verbal contract. There's no way it will, I don't think. Not with the critics that we live with.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Right? Because we know in our hearts this is going to be the best content that we get in 2021.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe for the past 5-6 years.
Yeah.
Since BVS came out.
Yeah.
So I am all in. By the way, guess who just emailed me?
Who?
That DC journalist.
Yeah.
And he said to email him right after this.
Okay. Awesome.
There was a little bit of a delay or something. So. Whoopsies.
Shit. Do we have to change our coverage on Ray Fisher now?
No.
Yeah, man. Walter Amada's the best. I've always liked Walter. I'm on
it's
Walter's
funny.
side.
this journalist focuses on the Doom Patrol. So
okay.
he has his own cyborg, technically.
Okay.
The cyborg that was created in spite of Ray Fisher's, which is weird when you think about it. So, definitely email him. Do you have anything else that you'd like to talk about tonight?
One thing, we did an article about a show called The Promise Neverland. I know Drip usually talks about anime, and I usually have to skip that part because I'm waiting for Attack on Titan to finish so we can binge watch it. But there was a show called The Promised Neverland. It's on HBO. I think its second season has begun to air on Hulu. You could finish it in one night. It is a wonderful, wonderful show. It's a type of anime that I would recommend to people who don't watch anime. We definitely have our article about it if you want to read it. It's about these kids who live in an orphanage and discover a dark secret about this orphanage, and they have to find out a way to escape. And they're all small, like 8, 9, 10 years old. Great story, great writing, great pacing, and the new season has just started, so look out for The Promised Neverland Season 2.
You do that.
Yep.
Definitely. I've heard nothing but good things about it. Thank you guys so much. I know this isn't our usual style of episode, but that's okay. You know, we adapt and overcome. I'm also, if you're home, by the way, if you're home later on, you can join us, for the live stream.
Okay, all right. I got a lot of errands to run. What time's the live stream?
Not sure yet, so
okay.
Probably won't be till later.
Okay.
I'm going to work. Well, I have to leave here at 11, so it's going to be before that.
Okay.
It'll probably be like 40 minutes, 50 minutes. But I have to get some rest before. Yeah. So
we're going to be with Nicotina, right?
With Nicotina.
Okay, cool.
And I already promised I would do this, so I have to do it. But that's why I needed to get this show done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that way tomorrow I can work on editing on this.
Yep.
Thank you guys so
today?
Yes, today.
It's a nice Sunday evening.
Very beautiful Sunday. Thank you guys so much for joining us on the Pop Culture Corner. As always, we'll be back next week with more podcast content. We air new content weekly, throw out on YouTube, as well as we put this podcast, this show up on all platforms on Sunday. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure whatever your platform you're listening on, whether it's Spotify, Apple, YouTube, wherever you're listening, make sure you like and follow in whatever form that takes on that platform, because all of that goes towards the success of the show. You can become a supporter of the podcast through Anchor or Podbean, whichever one. But I usually put the Anchor one below. You can do that. It's small monthly donations of 99 cents, $4.99 or $9.99. You pay it once a month, and you'll get, we'll send you an exclusive T-shirt for the Patreon Club. We'll curate content just for you once a month, and we'll have special deals for you all the time. Thank you guys so much. Please subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Jack, what's up? You can kick it out.
Kick it out. We do it for you, and we do it for the culture.
So long, folks.